In today's episode of Can I Retire, we have a millionaire who is going to run out of money, and we have to break the news to him. Today in this episode, I have Jack and Jill hypothetical. You can see here that Jack works for ABC and is making about $120,000 a year. Jill works for XYZ and she's making $60,000 a year right here. We're going to give them just a little bit of a projected increase on their salary. They're currently at the age of right at 59, right at 60 years of age here almost, and they want to retire in just a couple years at the age of 62. So they're thinking. Now, if I go down to the Social Security, their first thoughts are, hey, listen, I think I want to turn it on at age 65. But remember, if they retire at 62 and they need some health insurance protection between 62 and 65 before Social Security kicks on and can help them out there. So at 65, you can see that Jack's Social Security amount is going to be $2,773. We gave him a cost of living adjustment of 2.25%. This is a little lower than what the national average is. I'm being conservative here. And then Jill has a benefit at the age of 65 of $2,166 with the same cost of living adjustment of only 2.25. We'll play with that number in just a little bit. If I come down to the pension, you can see Jill has XYZ pension at the age of 62 that she will get of $750. There is no cost of living adjustment, and her husband will not get any benefit when he passes away. Now I'm going to jump over to our asset tab number 2, and you can see here on line number 1 that Jack has a current 401k with $500,000 in it, and he's contributing about $500 a month is going into that plan. Jill has a 401k and $200,000 in that plan, and about $200 a month is going into her plan. Line 3, Jack's got an old IRA, hasn't done anything with it, of about $50,000. Then they have a joint brokerage account. This is after-tax dollars, and that's about $50,000. Then they've got a checking and savings account, you can see, of $25,000. They got a CD at 5% currently, $50,000, and a CD at 4% of $25,000. So this all adds up. If you add all these numbers up, I believe that comes up to right at $900,000 of liquid assets. Then they own a home of $600,000, so a total net worth right here of $1.5 million. And so Jack and Jill, they say, hey, Tony, we think that we want about $7,500 a month to maintain our standard of living when we go to retire. And they're comfortable with using the average inflation rate of 3.27. If you watch any of my other videos, I often will go to this inflation tab, and here's what the 10-year average has been, and here's what the 110-year average has been of 3.27. We can argue that one all day long, but we're currently going to use 3.27, and we're going to keep this very general today. I'm not going to go into an advanced expense plan for them and break it all out, but in a real plan, you definitely would want to. So if I show them of $7,500 a month what they think that they're going to need in a couple years from now, and I go out here to my retirement tab. In retirement planning, in my opinion, the income planning is by far the most important thing. How are we going to make sure that we solve for income that you never outlive so you're never a burden on any of your loved ones? So when we go out to the retirement tab, you can see, boom, red line all over the place. Not a real good sign. Red is not a good thing. And so here you see that they run out of money at the age of 83. Now, in this hypothetical case, and I've heard about everything in all the years I've been doing financial planning, I would like to get the number, if I can, for this number not to run out until the age of 100. Right? Some people say, hey, if you can get this number to at least age 90, I feel comfortable. And in a few rare cases, if maybe some people have some major health problems and life expectancy is super short, then maybe there's an exception to that rule. However, that's not the case here. And money is going to run out at age 83. And it's probably going to look even worse if I come over here to my market tab and I take a look at what happens if they retire. And in the first few years here, take a look here. They retire at 62 in the year 2027. And in the rate of return is negative 12.84. And in the next year, it's a negative 4.92. And the next year, a negative 6.17. And the next year, 9.98. We got 4 years of negative returns, and they're pulling all these withdrawals out right in retirement. The money's not even coming near lasting age 83. Now it looks like it only lasts age 77. So this isn't going to work. So what do you need to be doing? Here's what you need to be thinking, whether you're in retirement or you're nearing retirement. You need to be reviewing this with your advisor at least once or twice a year, you be involved with making some of these changes. So if we know that $7,500 is not going to work, let's just start playing with some other options. I'm not saying this is any particular order, but let's just off the cuff here, let's see what we can do to help them out a little bit. I hate asking people to, live off ramen noodles when they prefer to eat, Chris Ruth steak. But let's just see if we reduce their expenses just a little bit, if we can get this number from the age 83 out to at least 90-ish, or into that close to that 100 range. So the first thing I'm going to do, not that I want to, this is just to get you thinking about what your lifestyle should look like and some of the things that you can adjust. Let's just take this down to $6,000, $7,500 down to $6,000 to maintain that standard of living. I'm not changing anything else. I'm coming back to my retirement tab. There we go. At the age of 100, I still have money of $108,000. So that's looking a little bit better, but guess what? Jack and Jill don't like that idea at all. They don't want to have to cut their living expenses to make the money lasting longer. So what are some other options here? So let's go back over here to the expense tab. Let's change this number back to $7,500. Tab through that, make sure that the retirement tab is still showing at age 83. We're running out of money. So let's come over to the income tab. Jack says, I know retiring at 62. I'd probably be bored out of my mind. I really do like the job that I have. I'm okay. Let's go ahead and go to maybe our full retirement age, out to age 67 years of age, and work just a little bit longer. I think I might be okay with that. Let's just see what that looks like. So I'm going to make him and Jill work to age 67. You see I changed that right there. That's the only thing I'm going to change. And remember, the money ran out at age 83, so let's just see if we work just a few more years, if that makes any difference. And it does. It gave us about another, 9 years, from 83 to 94. So about 11 years that we make the money doesn't last. Now they're feeling a heck of a lot better, and they know maybe this is something that they would consider, that they're open to, or maybe just working a part-time job. So I'm going to come back, change this to 62 when they want to retire, and just play with it a little bit. So at 62 when they want to retire here, what does it look like if I come down here and if I make just one little change of their Social Security benefit? Now, here you can see I've got their full retirement benefit, their primary insurance listed at their full retirement age for 67. What if I turned on their Social Security not at 65, but at age 62? Now, I've done this enough times, I can tell you this is probably not going to make a difference at all. But let's just take a look at it for your sake. So I moved them back to retiring at 62, turning on Social Security at the age of 62. They were going to run out of money at age 83, if you remember. If I come back to my retirement tab, it added a lousy 1 year. I knew it wouldn't make that big of a difference, but I thought that you might like to see that. Let's go back to the retirement tab. Let's push that Social Security back out to age 65 for both of them. Kick that back on and save it. Here's 65 now. And how about we raise the cost of living adjustment, the COLA, on Social Security. I like to be in super conservative, but some people like to say, hey, Tony, what has the true cost of living adjustment been on Social Security for all these years? So if I come over here to COLA history, you can see the 10-year average has actually been 2.75. And for the last 50 years, it's been 3.7. So you can see I'm being very, very conservative at the 2.25 range. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to raise this up to 2.75 for both of them. I don't think this is going to be a huge difference, but let's just double check. And it doesn't make any change whatsoever here. So if I come back to my income tab, I'm going to lower this back down to 2.25. So those are the same thing for them. But the one thing that I get often is I'll get people say, well, I want this money to last a little bit longer. I don't think inflation is going to be maybe as bad as you're thinking, Tony. I got it lasting age 83. The one thing I want you to change, I want you to lower this inflation rate. This is not ideal. I don't recommend this at all. But I have this question asked a lot. So I'm just going to drop this to 2.5 because I want you to see the impact of going from 3.27 down to 2.5 on this retirement plan. So We go from age 83 all the way to age 90. Again, not something that I recommend, something that should be reviewed proactively with you and your advisor, at least on a yearly basis. You should be sitting down with your guy and going through this together. It's not like a Wizard of Oz where the financial advisor goes behind the curtain and he comes out and says, ta-da, here's your financial plan. It's something that you should be working on together and analyzing this so you can kind of see and play with the numbers a little bit to make sure that you and your family are going to be okay. So I'm going to change this back to my expenses to 3.27, and we've changed expenses. We've taken a look at reducing inflation. We've worked a little bit longer. There's all sorts of different options that you can come in here and play with. And the last one is what if I come in here and I start to increase the rates of return in my portfolio? I want you to be very cautious before you do this. I want you to look at other alternatives before you start playing around with the going to take excessive rates of return in your portfolio. If you try to start reaching for the 9s and the 10s, the 11s and 12s, you got to remember the downside risk when you're nearing retirement. So just be cautious when you go to do that. I'm going to make one quick change here for you. I'm going to take you just from 6% to 8% on just a couple of the big assets here, the top two, okay? A lot of people think this makes a huge difference in your retirement plan, and it depends on how much time you have on your side. And if I go over here, we'll make sure we're retiring at 62 in 2 years. The assets, all I did was I changed these two accounts right here from a 6% return to an 8% return over their lifetime. And we go from, we had it at age 83, and now it takes us to age 89. Probably the last thing that I want to look at, or at least make sure that you understand the risk versus reward. I hope today was just to give you some ideas of what to think about. Make sure that you're always talking to your advisor and you're involved with the planning side of it. And remember to always consult a licensed professional who understands your specific goals and dreams.